The newspapers today, the shock and horror about the rape gangs inquiry and how Labour is dragging its feet. The anger at Le Farce, one in, one out, that was launched in July, has reached such a low point, ladies and gentlemen, that today, a man that was sent back 29 days ago, deported, part of Starmer's idea of controlling numbers, was given £2,000. He's back. It's only been 29 days. He had to get back, post the money in an account, have a beach holiday, and he's back. That's what we're dealing with. We say a very good morning to the former Foreign Secretary. He must love me and this show so much. Day two, James Cleverly, hello.
Good to be back, Jeremy. Good to be back.
I'm waiting for that moment when people with placards who should have jobs start appearing behind you. Let's crack on. James, I do want to start with one in, one out, because it's in every single newspaper. We've heard countless comments from our Prime Minister about it's about smashing gangs, it's about this, that and the other. Let me just say from a listener's point of view, from an everyday person's point of view, we see successive governments seemingly incapable / unwilling, or I don't know what, to stop thousands of people coming into this country who are neither vetted, don't work, commit crime, and we drag our feet and we say we don't want to upset them. We hear horror stories about how border agents mistake 11-year-olds for 47 men. We talk all about people's rights as a country, and yet we seem to forget the British people's rights, and the anger is brewing. I had Nigel Farage on earlier, and I asked him, we got the clip? I asked him, how do you stop the boats? This is what Nigel Farage said, James.
You order the Royal Navy to stop the boats. Those that do get through would be immediately put in prison camps, ex-RAF bases, that kind of thing. Not allowed free to walk the streets and deported as quickly as possible.
Why is that seen as so outrageous, James Cleverly? Why didn't your party empower? Why are we not strong on this stuff?
Well, what we see in, or what we hear in that clip, unfortunately, is the same that we always get from a reform. Because whilst they are cracking sounding headlines, they are completely unworkable. So he says put the Royal Navy in the channel. What would he ask the Royal Navy to do? They're armed warships that have a job around the world. Is he envisaging that they are shooting at these migrants? So it sounds tough, put the Royal Navy in the channel, but he hasn't said what they're going to do. He says he's going to put them away. Where's he going to put them away? He said former RAF bases, like the one in Wethersfield, in my constituency, which already has migrants in it. So look, he's good at generating headlines, but he's a one-man band. He hasn't thought through these policies. They are not deployable, they don't work, and the fact is we've already seen that pattern of behaviour with the Labour Party. I was Home Secretary, I know how difficult this is. It's frustrating and it's challenging. The Labour Party, just like Reform, didn't have a credible plan. They thought it would be easy. They thought talking tough was the same as being tough. And unfortunately, what we've now seen is small boat arrivals already this year supplant last year as the worst year. And also what we're seeing is this ridiculous hokey cokey, one in, one out. That was a plan that was never going to work.
No, and to let you know, you should know this on the back. You should know this on the back of the policy. I was told this earlier, between 7 and 8. On the back of the government's policy, it actually says in a footnote, we suspect people might still come back in again, having been told to leave, and we'll just deport them again. So I want to take you back. I'm not a voice piece for reform. I disagree with you on several levels, and there's a reason for this. And I understand that you were the Home Secretary, and I understand in government the ECHR. Now your party's going to leave the ECHR. The problem I have with what you just said is you say, well, the Royal Navy, what are they going to do, shoot? No, we're talking about picking up people before they set foot in this country, creating somewhere, whether it's a reused ship, I don't know, a big liner, with a crack team of people, James, who aren't going to be told by a 47-year-old, I'm 11, or a man with 4 kids that he's gay so he can't go back to France because he doesn't fancy a tent, that actually we're not going to be this end point for all and sundry, that actually if you come here you can't take advantage. Nigel Farage might not have filled in the gaps, but it does concern me that we all go around and around and around not wanting to offend. The British people in their millions are latching on to what Nigel Farage says because they are fed up that nobody seems to be able to do anything about it. I think that's a fair comment.
look, so those proposals are nonsense. So he's saying we're going to use the Royal Navy to pick people up from the Channel and bring them to the UK. I think the British people would be furious if our military resources that should be defending British shipping around the world, that should be actually using their military capability for military functions, was actually used as a glorified taxi service, which is what Nigel Farage is saying. I've got local reform candidates in Braintree saying that they wouldn't use the Wethersfield base, and then Nigel Farage nationally saying he would. The point is, just like the Labour Party, they do not have a credible plan. Now, our plan, which is set out by Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, we are going to leave the ECHR. We've tried to make it work, but it has been intransigent. We're going to replace it with a system whereby people who arrive here legally will be deported quickly, and there's no point in just sending them across the Channel, because as we've seen, you just create this merry-go-round. This is why Rwanda was such an important partner, because it's a lot further away than the French coast. And this is the difference between our party. We've learnt from what we got wrong in government, and we're not going to pretend that we got everything right. And we are putting forward credible plans to deal with situations, fully costed, fully deployable, rather than just seeking headlines like Labour did and like Reform are doing now.
Very quick question, before I ask you quickly as well about the grooming gangs. Do you regret the past not leaving the ECHR sooner?
Well, this was an institution that we helped create. It was there for an incredibly important reason. I gave a speech when I was Foreign Secretary about reforming these international institutions for the modern era. I gave a speech about it in London, I gave a speech about it in the fringes of the United Nations. And unfortunately, the European Court of Human Rights just was not listening, and we're now seeing a whole load of other European countries express their frustration with this institution. But the fact is, we gave it our best shot. It hasn't changed the way it needs to, so we are now setting out a credible plan whereby we leave and put a framework in place so we can actually control our borders properly.
James, it's very noisy. We really appreciate it. Just very quickly before Benjamin gets the better of you, the debacle over this rape gang inquiry is a disgrace and a stain on society. I watched Jess Phillips squirm. I watched 4 victims now not want to play ball. They feel they're being coerced. 2 chairmen. This is such an awful look, isn't it?
This is so frustrating. I cannot begin to imagine how the victims must feel. We've heard from some of them who Kemi quoted directly at Prime Minister's questions. At every single stage, the Labour Party, whether it be in local government or now in national government, have tried to avoid scrutiny on this issue. They were dragged by Kemi to agree to this inquiry. They didn't want a national inquiry. They have tried to dilute it at every stage. It is unsurprising that a number of the victims have now lost confidence in the process and have lost confidence in Jess Phillips. We should listen to the victims. We should have someone they trust heading up this inquiry. We should make sure their voices are heard and not diluted. And we have now got to make sure, well, I say we, the government has got to make sure that they regain the trust of the victims and listen to the victims in a way that they haven't been listened to up until this point.
Couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for braving Storm Benjamin. James Cleverly, former Foreign Secretary on Morning Glory, 30 minutes.